Trust, walking the talk, yeah? Okay, good. So I'm hoping that you can get some better idea about leadership by the end of today. And I'm going to talk about some research that PHEASANT, my organisation, has done on leadership for English language teachers. And then we're going to reflect at the end of today's session. Okay? But first, I'd like you just to discuss in your pairs together these two questions. As a leader or a teacher or a professional or a student, anything is okay, what journeys have you gone upon? What transformative journeys have you been on? How have you changed as a teacher or as a leader? So just share a story together, and how can you harness these journeys to make education better? Some big questions. You have 1 minute to discuss with the person next to you. Off you go. Who you are today is not going to be the leader you are tomorrow or you are in the future. Your leadership style is like a toolbox. It's like a toolkit. You have to collect many types of leadership tools because the way that you're a leader will change depending on your context, depending on who you are leading. So the trick to being a good leader is to constantly develop more leadership skills and try to be different and try different types of leadership in different ways. So my organisation, PHEASANT, we have 250 schools in Australia and Southeast Asia, and we do quality assurance in English language teaching. We also do a lot of professional development as well. And exactly 1 year ago at CamTESOL, we created an online course for English language teachers to start discussing leadership. In this course, we did a workshop and we got students to enter this online course, and it's available for you to do if you like for free after this session. I'll give you some information, or you can take my business card. In this course and in the workshops that we ran around Australia and Southeast Asia, we had more than 1,000 teachers in this course talking about their experience with leadership. We've analysed all of their conversations, and we've come up with some recurring themes of what those teachers are talking about with their experience as leaders. And I'm going to share some information with you about that course and what those teachers are saying today. In the course, we try to explore 4 types of leaders. So there is the emergent leader, the authentic leader, the inspirational leader, and the transformational leader. Now, you can be any one of these leaders, any one of these types of leaders. It depends on the situation, and it depends on the context, and it depends on who you are trying to lead. Okay? But an emergent leader is really a leader that's come out of the industry. So a leader who was a teacher and has found themselves in a leadership position. Is there anyone in the room who's come to be a leader or a senior teacher from a teacher? Yes. Yeah, many people. This is quite a common pathway or a common way of becoming a leader. You find yourself in a leadership position even though you don't really want to be there. Okay, that's an emergent leader. An authentic leader is a leader who strives to lead and wants to change because of something inside them. They want the inside to be the same as the outside. That's an authentic leader. An inspirational leader is someone who believes in the purpose and has some passion or a mission, wants to change the world for some reason. And a transformational leader or transformational leadership is looking more at an intellectual way of changing, looking at change management, looking at how they influence different people in order to achieve their goals. You are not one or the other, you can be all 4. It depends on the situation and depends on the circumstance. So in this course, we trained the teachers on these types of leaderships and gave them some skills to be able to function as these 4 types of leaders. I have a question to you. What type of leader do you think you are now? What type of leader would you like to be more of? Which ones of these? So again, in your pairs, can you discuss which type of leader do you think you are or want to be, and which one's very unfamiliar to you? 1 minute for discussion. Off you go. Authentic leader. A few more hands. Okay. What about an inspirational leader? Wow, that's great. Okay, some hands up, very strong and high also. And what about transformational leader? Trying to work out. You're not one or the other. Yeah, you can change. It depends on the situation. It depends on the stage in your career. It depends on the context. It even depends right down to who you're actually engaging with at that particular point in time. The point I'm trying to make is there is no one style. You've got to develop many styles because you're going to need many styles depending on the situation. Okay, just going to jump right in. Are there any questions that you might have had or you're thinking about right now? There's question time at the end, but I'm always interested in any questions that might pop up as we're talking. Yes?
Got a question, please.
Yeah.
So, which one are you?
Good question. Good question. Look, I try to be authentic as much as possible because I'm not a very good liar. And if I'm authentic and always telling the truth, what's inside and outside, then I don't have to remember to lie. Yeah, I'm not a good liar. But I try to practice all 4. It depends on the situation. There's also another type of leadership which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, which I also like to do as well, and that's called servant leadership. Yeah, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Any other questions? Okay, let's move on. So when we interviewed and talked to all of these teachers, so the 1,000 teachers that were in the course and also who came to all of our workshops around Australia and in Southeast Asia on leadership, we found that there's people struggling with ideas around leadership. Yes, they understand there's 4 styles and they can be those 4 styles, but they talked about other things that we didn't expect. One of the key things that teachers are struggling with or thinking about is they want to understand more about the context. So it's hard to be a good leader if you're working in an organisation that's not a great organisation. And so we were asking the teachers, well, what makes a great organisation? What does that mean? And they told us that they like to work for organisations that have clear goals and clear visions. They would like to work for organisations that actually support the teacher and the employees from the very beginning when they're recruited all the way through to when they've been working at the organisation for a very long time. They also like to work for organisations that are not static but learning. So teachers were making the point of it doesn't matter what type of leader you are, if you're not working for a learning organisation, an organisation that does some of these things, then it's very hard to be a good leader. Kind of makes sense, right? Another trend or another thing that came out of our coding was about developing a global mindset. Teachers who were leaders and were practicing it as leaders were really engaged with what was happening globally. They had a global mindset. They were interested in intercultural communication and developing intercultural competence. They were interested or understood the importance of changing your communication style depending on who you're speaking to and where they're from. And they were also very interested in leveraging diversity and inclusion, so trying to make the workplace a very inclusive workplace. So these were things that good teacher leaders were actually doing and talking about. Another thing that we heard from our teachers were developing different types of intelligences. So yes, you have to be a great teacher. Yes, you have to actually look at leadership skills and management skills. You have to know how to run a business. But it's also very important to develop your emotional IQ and your leadership IQ and your empathy for other people and your compassion. Many leaders were talking about servant leadership. Now, servant leadership is where you as a leader consider primarily and most importantly how you serve your followers. Your followers' needs are first and foremost your priority. So kind of like you are not the leader, they are the leaders, and you are facilitating leadership in everybody else. So it's kind of reversing. So if you were a good leader and you were standing up here and trying to draw attention of everyone, if you wanted to be a servant leader, you might let the group lead and go where they want to go and facilitate the movement. So that's not a very good description, but yeah. It's an interesting concept, servant leadership, and it flips things around. And I like it because that's what I think as teachers we should be doing in the classroom as well. We should not be the sage on the stage. We should be the facilitator of the students' own learning. It's exactly the same concept. As a leader, you shouldn't be the sage on the stage taking everyone with you. You should be facilitating everyone's own journey and own transformative journey. So this is some stuff that teachers are saying in the program. And last of all, teachers are talking about themselves as a consumer. And so leading in English language teaching is making sure you consider the full ecology of teaching. You've got consumers involved, students are consumers, teachers are consumers, the school leaders and the school professional staff are consumers. So applying a consumer model to the way that you talk with people and you get feedback from people and you deliver on your promise is a really great part of leadership as well, and something I think that we forget, especially where we're teachers in our own classrooms and king of our classrooms, or queen. Okay, so just to refresh, great learning organisations are important for teachers who consider themselves leaders, cultivating a global mindset, looking at leadership in practice and actually practicing it. Innovation and leadership is important in ELT, and developing some core leadership competencies throughout your leadership career is important. So this is the course. You're more than welcome to join. It's split into 4 parts, so it's very easy to do. You can jump right in and you can start by reading if you like. If you're that type of person, you can go to the library and you can read up on leadership. If you like to play games and you learn by doing quizzes, you can go to the playground. If you want to just jump straight to the assessment and get the badges and the micro-credentials, you can go straight to assessment, or you can actually talk to other teachers in the cafe. This is open until the 30th of June this year, and then it will be refreshed again from the 1st of July this year. You have a whole year to complete the course. Okay, I just want to quickly talk to you about a piece of research that NIAS has just completed. At NIAS, like I said, we have 250 schools around Australia and Southeast Asia, and we visit those schools every 2 years. We do an assessment, quality and endorsement of those schools. When we go to those schools, we write a report. So these reports are 20 pages long, and they give the schools recommendations to improve. We have a set of standards that we use, and we try to encourage schools to get better and better. Those reports over the last 8 years were analysed by an independent researcher and coded to see what was improving in the sector in Australia and in Southeast Asia. And there were some aspects in there which I think are really interesting around leadership to show over the last 8 years, what's actually been developing and changing with English language schools' perspective on everything, but in this case I'm going to talk about perspective on leadership. So first of all, assessment, validation and moderation has changed enormously in schools and in English language teaching. Curriculum has really moved from an ad hoc approach to assessment to very, very strong assessment, validation and moderation. So checking assessment, validating within the teachers, moderating it with samples, and there's a very strong system in place now for assessment, validation and moderation in schools. So we're finding this is done more often than not, which is great. Teacher verification and qualifications has changed. Around the world there has been a general increase in the entry-level qualification required for English language teachers, and also a change in the amount of practicum that's required in order to start teaching. But the great news is there's more qualifications being applied throughout the teacher's life cycle, including some very good leadership qualifications that are being done by schools and teachers. So we're moving away from an entry-level qualification system to a continuous learning with multiple qualifications throughout the entire life cycle of a teacher who turns into a leader, and that's great. And finally, there's been a professionalisation of English language teachers. So standards are increasing, and there's a real sense that English language teachers are a true profession. And by true profession, I mean there's resources, there's recognition of entry requirements, there's ongoing continual professional development, and schools are taking this really, really seriously. I think this is also a great thing, especially for the academic manager role. This has become a very, very clean and clear role with a set position description and a lot of support for academic managers in their training. So we've seen this. You're more than welcome to read the report. It's available online. It talks about a whole bunch of other things, but I think it very clearly shows that our sector is changing. It's becoming more professional. We're paying more attention to qualifications and training throughout the entire life cycle of the teacher, and we're really focusing on what it means to be a leader in English language teaching. And I'd like to thank you for coming today. We've got a little bit of time for questions. If you have any questions about the two pieces of resources I showed you, the online course or the Mapping the ELT Landscape report, they're both available on our website. You can have a look. But if you've got a teacher a question about leadership, shoot. Don't shoot me, just shoot your hand up. Yes, sir.
Which